Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on your time zone. This is the Doctor's Clinic, and your host this evening, Helen Whited from Denver, Colorado. Helen, take it away.
All right. Thanks, Rob. All right, everybody. Happy terrific Tuesday evening to you. My sweet DW is on the road. He was in Pennsylvania all last week, and then he got to Ohio yesterday with Joe King, and they did a big meeting there last night, and they're doing another big meeting tonight in Ohio in a rural area with no cell reception. So he asked if I would help him out on the call. So welcome to the call, and we're going to continue with the topic that we've had over the last couple of weeks, and that's about getting healthy in the new year and longevity. And then tonight we will focus on infections and the immune system. And we've got Doc Fizz on the call. He is just an amazing wealth of knowledge. He's a chiropractor. He loves Sisel. He's out there making it happen, and he also loves science. And every time I'm on one of these doctor calls, I learn so much. His knowledge is just unbelievable. So without further ado, Doc Fizz, are you on the call?
I'm here. Thanks, Helen. I appreciate the introduction. So
sure,
thank you for taking over for DW when he's not there. And, I really appreciate everything that you guys do and what Rob does there. And like always, I guess I'm going to tell everybody, I like doing this call. When Sisel first asked me, they said, hey, Kurt, would you do that call, the Doctor's Clinic call? It forces me to use some of my doctor skills, some of my skills as a physician, talking about different things, and as I delve into the ingredients and the products and share that with people and share it in a way that makes sense. I enjoy it. I always look forward to Tuesday nights when I can do this call. So thanks for having me, and for everybody listening, thanks for listening. When we take a look at the aging process, back, let's say thousands of years ago, maybe even hundreds of years ago, but thousands of years ago anyhow, if you go back to the days, the Stone Age, a lot of people think, well, what was the number one thing that killed people back in the caveman days? I mean, Helen or Rob, I know both of you are there. I mean, just what would you guess? What would be the number one thing that killed people back in the caveman days?
I would say wild animals.
I would say waterborne illness.
Yeah, and Rob, you're probably more correct, because bacteria is probably the number one thing that cavemen had to worry about. And Helen, that's a lot of people say, when I ask them that question, they say exactly what you said. They think of the saber-toothed tiger or the saber-toothed bear, things like that. But really look at it in today's world. Animals don't kill that many people, and they never did back then either. More people die from infections. And so when you look at the body's response to an infection, and you look at the body's response to really any kind of an injury, if you cut your hand, if you cut your finger, the body responds in a lot of the same ways that it would to a bacterial infection. It walls up the area, and it kind of creates that scab formation, and it isolates it until it can deal with it. And that's what it does with a bacteria, and that's what it does with a cut. And so when they talk about the demise of the human race, if anything is going to take us out, chances are it's going to be an infection. Chances are it's going to be some kind of infection. And I forget that movie that was out, that that's how they actually got rid of the aliens that invaded our planet, and that was basically an infection. But so if we can improve our immune system, we can prevent a lot of suffering. But not only that, we can slow the aging process, and we can improve people's lives, because even with bacteria, with cancer, most people don't die of cancer, right? I mean, they say, oh, he had cancer and that's what took him out. But did he die of cancer or did he die of an infection? And most of the time, we can really say that the immune system was compromised and the infection took over, and that's what got him, usually pneumonia. And so we can really improve the longevity of the human race by figuring out how to boost the immune system. So when I heard that Tom was working on this product, I was like, wow, that is so cool. I mean, everybody that's on the call, everybody that's listening to the call, you just got to be thinking, isn't that just cool? Because when Tom does something, he doesn't just, I'm going to use his expression, he doesn't just take a chicken and wave it over a pot of boiling water and call it chicken soup. I mean, he puts the whole thing in there. And last week I was up in Utah, and I always like going up there. For whatever reason, I go up there and I get to sit down and talk to Tom, and I love science. And so we'd sit there around the dining room table at night and talk about a lot of science, a lot of things that were going on, and a lot of other things too. But I got to see the formulation of what's actually in the new Sisel Immune product. And holy cow, everyone! Holy cow! The a massive amount of ingredients. When Tom was showing me that, and I didn't know exactly how many pills you had to take to get the dosage. He's just showing me, the 5,000 milligrams and the 3,000 milligrams and 2,500 milligrams of this and that and 100-time concentrate type ingredients. And I thought, wow, that's got to be a giant-sized pill. And he said, oh, no, it's 8 of them. You got to take 8 to get the full dosage. and I thought, well, I mean, if that's what it takes to get the ingredients, that's what it takes. And a lot of people today are fighting some pretty nasty stuff. And then on top of it, our immune system had been compromised so much by toxicity and GMO foods and this new Roundup, this glyphosate. Holy cow! I mean, another physician friend of mine out of Michigan and I were conversing a little bit online, and he said 100% of people now are sensitive to gluten because of glyphosate, because of Roundup. 100%. And when I say gluten sensitive, a lot of people probably think, oh, they have celiac disease. But celiac disease is kind of the way extreme form of gluten sensitivity. Most people aren't that sensitive, but they're sensitive enough that what happens is that they get something called leaky gut syndrome, and I could spend another hour talking about that and about the effects of it. But bottom line is that when you take a look at what's going in your digestive system, there's a pipe that starts at one end of your body in the mouth, and this pipe is a open environment that goes all the way through your system, and it comes out the other end, and there's an opening there. So it's just an outside environment on the inside of your body, and then you're protected from that outside environment by a mucus layer that's made up of healthy bacteria and other things that are in there, the microflora. And what happens is that back when they invented antibiotics, they started giving people, and the people that were against it, they said, well, isn't it going to kill off the normal healthy bacteria? But we started doing it, and we started giving everybody antibiotics for everything, and now we're finding a lot of antibiotic resistant bacteria too. So again, there I could spend a long time talking about that, just getting into that whole thing. But I'm just going to say that just think about it, that there's bacteria that are resistant to the antibiotics, and so that's what I kind of lead this call and this conference with is just kind of trying to get you to think a little bit about, okay, so we know that we have these challenges, right? And it's there. And like Barb Grindy did such a great job with the artistry on the little banner that she did on the Facebook post on this call, where she put Chuck Norris on there, and the reason that she did that is that you can't run and hide from toxins, and you can't run and hide from bacteria. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. I don't care how much you wash your hands and that. It's there, especially in the wintertime. The reason people get more colds and flus and that isn't because my mom will call and she treats me like a little kid yet, and she'll say, "Hey, Kurt, were you wearing your stocking cap today when you went outside?" And I kind of got to laugh, and I say, "Mom, I'm 53 years old. You don't have to call and tell me that." But I kind of chuckle on that because a lot of people think that's why you get sick, but a lot of times it's because in the wintertime we're stuck inside. We've got a lot of recirculated air, and we're breathing all those bacteria and viruses and funguses and all that stuff that's been stuck in the air passageways in your house, and that's probably the main thing that makes us sick in the wintertime more than in the summer, because summertime the windows are open, you're breathing fresh air. But so what can we do about all of this? Like I said, we can't run and hide. So you got to build your immune system so it's really, that Chuck Norris strong, so that, if I get in contact with the bacteria is more scared of my Chuck Norris immune system than I am afraid of it. And that's what I really think we can do with a product like Sisel Immune. And so that's what I want to spend the rest of the call talking about, is that, what exactly is this product and how does it work, right? And so Sisel Immune is a product that kind of blends the old with the new. It blends the traditional Chinese medicine, the things that we've known for even thousands of years that the Chinese used. They've been kind of the leader in herbal medicines, and then with homeopathic remedies, from Germany, and then we combine that with the modern discoveries with biochemistry in natural sciences. We combine these together and we come up with a product called Sisel Immune, and it's like no other. I've been doing natural medicine and chiropractic for 30 years, and there's some concentrated formulas that you just won't find anywhere else. Yeah, you might find some of the ingredients here and there. As I kind of browsed through the internet online today and looked through different things, I can find some of the ingredients here, there. They talk about them, but you don't find them in one product. And they all work synergistically together to make each other work better. And it's a revolutionary formula. It improves the immunity. It improves your vitality, your cognition. It works with the brain. And some of the more recent scientific articles I'm reading is they're saying that scientists, I don't want to say they just discovered, but they're admitting, and that's probably a better word, they're admitting that they know that the immune system and the brain are communicating. The immune system and the brain are communicating all the time. So you think about that. If 60 to 70% of your immune system is down in your digestive system, and your immune system and your brain are communicating, what does that mean? It means that your brain is communicating with your food. And so all this stuff, just put that all together. And so some of the first ingredients that Tom put in are some real bioavailable ingredients that come from limes and limonene and camphorol. These are ingredients that are found in limes, and the limonene prevents oxidation. It's a very bioavailable ingredient. The camphorol is a flavonoid, and it reduces oxidative stress. It's been found to decrease the risk, even in certain types of cancers. Even the medical establishment, the big medical industry, health industry has said, hey, we got to take a look at this camphorol. So this isn't us saying this. We can't say it on our product because we haven't done those studies. But what we're doing is we're taking the ingredients and we're looking at the studies that have already been done by them. And camphorol is a flavonoid that it's metabolized in the intestine by the microflora, by your healthy bacteria. So guess what? Another reason to have a healthy digestive system. So I would say that if you want to make the camphorol, the ingredient from limes, work better, guess what? You want to use the balanced D along with it. And I heard Tom say that on the call last night as well. But this ingredient is excellent for inflammation. It's an antimicrobial. It fights cancer. It protects the cardiovascular system as well as the nervous system. And really, they found that it even helps get rid of the bad estrogens. You know, and where do we get bad estrogens? Well, if you drank water out of a plastic water bottle today, chances are you're exposed to some bad estrogens, right? If you ate some chicken today, commercially grown chicken, chances are you're exposed to some bad estrogen. If you ate some beef today, chances are, right? If you ate any vegetables that had any kind of sprays put on them, you know, chances are, right? And so it's a really, really good product to help boost your body's immune system, its own fighting system. And it also is something that works really, really good for helping with allergies. And in today's world, I mean, I know most of you that are probably around the same age as me or older, you remember when you didn't really have any allergies not that long ago, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, and all of a sudden now everybody seems to be allergic to something. And that goes back to this leaky gut syndrome that I talked about, and because of incompletely broken down proteins, the ICPs, that break through the leaky gut. And so we can talk about that at another time. But, you know, it's really interesting when you start looking at this camphorol. One study that I read, it said that camphorol interrupts the cell growth of certain cancer cells, and it induces something called apoptosis, which is basically, it's when the cancer cells just start killing themselves, which is really what you want. You know, you don't need chemo. What you need is that your own immune system, your innate intelligence will fight this stuff off. And so this camphorol will decrease the H. pylori. It increases the effectiveness of antibiotics. So if you are on an antibiotic, it'll actually make it work better. And then, you know, I can talk a lot about about the virals and how they replicate and all that, but it helps to inhibit this viral replication. And I'll go through that whole process because a lot of people don't really know, you know, why is it that a bird gets a flu and all of a sudden Kurt's got the bird flu, right? I mean, how do I get a flu from a bird or the swine flu or whatever happens to have the flu? How can it get into the human body? So I really want to touch on that too, so you have an idea in your head of how that actually works. But, you know, as I go through the ingredients, we're talking about elderberry. This is another ingredient. It's been used for a long time as a natural remedy for the flu and for other viral infections. And here we start talking about viral replication, okay? And what exactly is viral replication? Well, how does a virus go? How does it mutate from a bird or a pig into a human being? And really think of it like this: in your DNA, there's two strands that are held together, okay? And you think of that swirled up little piece of material, and that's the DNA. That's the chromosome. So there's two strands that are swirled together. And so when a virus replicates, what happens is the one side of the strand unwinds from the other one, and then it goes looking for a cell in your body that looks real similar to the part that it left. You know, so the A part left the B part, so the A part goes to your body and starts looking for something that looks real similar to the B part that it left alone, and what it does is it attaches to it. And now you see it's just mutated, right? And the B part goes to look for something that looks like the A part, and it mutates into your body as well. And if a virus is really strong, they can attack healthy humans' host cells like that, and it gets onto them, and then all of a sudden now it mutates again and again and again, because now this virus that's half human, half virus cell, now what it does, it mutates again, and it mutates again and again and again. And viruses, some of them are so strong, they can work like an army. They can work together. And so two viruses, actually two different kinds of viruses, can actually work together, and it can take one viral strand and another viral strand, and it can combine them, and a really, really strong host even Chuck Norris gets the flu, right? And that's because even when these viruses double up like that and double team you, they can kind of break that up. And so think about that. Hopefully everybody's got a good picture in their head. So if you want to stop viral replication, the best place to stop it when the virus is weak, when the virus is split in half and it's looking for the other half from the host, what happens then is that it's left kind of vulnerable. And if you can take at that exact point and you can kill it, you've got the thing licked, right? And so that's what some of these ingredients work on. And so when I talk about disrupting viral assembly, viral replication, that's what I'm talking about. So you can kind of get that in your head. And so the elderberry, another really great thing about it, it's a revolutionary product that helps with the mucous membranes, right? And where are the mucous membranes? Well, you have mucous membranes in your gut lining, right? And so elderberry is going to help out with the gut, but it's going to help out with the sinuses. And last week when I saw the product, and of course, almost every bottle that they made was packed into a crate, and it was being shipped out to Pennsylvania for the conference that they had out there. And so I had to wait a couple days, and they were just getting like the second batch run, and I said, grab me 4 of them. And I guess that's just how I work. And so I bought some and I had with me, and I'm sitting up on the mountain. I'm elk hunting, and I got a little bit of a sinus thing, and I'm sitting there up on the mountain. I'm looking for elk, but then I look over at the bottle, and I got it in my pocket, and I'm reading the ingredients, and then I'm jumping on my phone, my little mini computer, and I'm looking up the ingredients. And I thought, well, I got this sinus cold. I got kind of a head cold. I got a little bit of a headache, and I thought, I'm going to see if this thing works. And so a normal healthy dosage for somebody that's got some really bad stuff is 8 pills. I just decided I'm going to take 2 and see what happens. And within an hour, my head cold was gone. And just think about that. What if that's all this product would do? I mean, holy cow, how many people do you know wouldn't like that to happen this time of year? You can share that with them. You can, when I got on the airplane and came back to North Dakota, I wanted to give it to everybody and say, hey, here, take this. Don't cough on the plane that I'm getting on, and because they recirculate that air, and guy up in the first class starts coughing, and the guy way in the back is breathing that in. And so here's a product that can help with that. And then we got the monolaurin distilled glycerin. It's an ingredient that's found from coconut milk, and actually it's one of the things that's found in breast milk that helps transfer immunity from the mother to the child. And they found that it helps with all sorts of viruses. Again, guess what? Shingles, herpes, the flu virus, and it helps with the immune system. It even supports chronic fatigue syndrome. So you can take a look at that and you think, wow, who wouldn't want that? And it's used in a lot of medicines, actually, medicinal properties. But the next thing we talk about is it's a Chinese medicine, and it's used for a long time. Thousands of years the Chinese have been using it. And, I mean, even sounds Chinese, the lotus leaf. It's high concentrations of these phytochemicals, and these chemicals actually were discovered to protect the plant from being assaulted by bacteria and funguses. I mean, think about that. Here you got something that helps the plant fight off these the funguses and the bacteria. And so if it can do that for a plant and it can do it for us, holy cow, it increases the blood flow, it decreases blood pressure, it decreases stress, it makes your liver work better, it fights bacteria, it fights funguses, and when it's combined with L-carnitine, they even found that it helps out with weight loss. And which one of us, couldn't afford to lose like a pound or 2. And so I just say, you think about all those things that we're getting in this one product. We've only talked about a couple of ingredients. Olive leaf, I use a lot of olive oil here when I cook, but olive leaf extract has been used for a long time. And they really, didn't isolate a lot of things from it until the 1800s. But even in the Bible, they talk about using olive leaf. and it fights free radicals. It gives resilience to the body. It fights fevers, increases blood flow in the coronary arteries, helps out with muscle spasms. Again, here we hear that word, inhibits the growth, the viral replication, right? I mean, again, in your head, every time you hear viral replication, think about what I talked about, that double strand being split, boom, fights it, kills it right then and there. You got a good picture of that, right? But Upjohn Pharmaceuticals in the 1970s said that it helps with bacteriums, right? And guess what we're talking about a lot, especially on the East Coast, down in California, we're talking about Lyme's disease. It's caused by a bacterium, a spirochete. And so the Upjohn Pharmaceuticals in the 1970s already identified this. They didn't say Lyme's disease, and I'm be careful to say that. And but it helps with the protozoas, the infections from that are found in water, right? Viruses, retroviruses. It helps with the cold, encephalitis, herpes, candida, Epstein-Barr virus, right? Hepatitis B virus, herpes virus, shingles caused by a virus, HIV, AIDS, pneumonia, malaria, urinary tract infections, even infections that are caused after surgery, post-surgical infections. So you think about that. I mean, what's it doing? Well, when those viral assemblies take place, it disrupts that and it stops it. And so if you're somebody that, when you're around somebody who has the cold or has the flu and you always seem to get it, that's the ingredient that you want to have is this olive leaf extract. And this olive leaf extract will stop the virus from being able to penetrate the host cell. So not only does it stop the replication, but it basically says, hey, don't go into the cells of the human body. And so we can stop that mutation as it goes in there. And so, we roll on to the next ingredient, one that we've heard a lot about, those of us that are in Sisel. We've heard a lot about the chaga. Chaga, the king of herbs. It's been named a mushroom, but it's a lot different than any kind of a mushroom. But I remember when Tom was talking about having chaga in the coffee, and I started looking up, okay, what's chaga? What is this chaga stuff? And what I found is that it's a I guess basically it's like a hard mushroom, and it improves the health of the tree. So it grows on the tree, and you think, well, that can't be good, but it grows on the tree, and it actually makes the tree healthier. Holy cow, I mean, right? And so these trees that grow up in Siberia, the trees that go in northern North Dakota, northern Minnesota, all this stuff, we're not quite as cold as Siberia, but we're pretty darn cold sometimes, and it makes the tree healthier. But they found in humans, over in Korea and over in Japan and over in Russia, over in China, they found that it not only does it improve the health of the tree, but it helps the human body as well. And with the flavonoids and the phenols and all the vitamins, the B vitamins, it helps with the adrenal glands, right? When you get sick, guess what? You're stressed out. And so it helps with the adrenal glands. It helps with superoxide dismutase, which is, one of your body's most powerful antioxidants, most powerful one that's ever been found. And so we can get that from the chaga. Interesting, that a lot of I think they're called arborists, the tree surgeons, if they have a tree that's really sick, you can take another tree, you can take a tree that has chaga on it, and you could take a part of that chaga and you can put it on the unhealthy tree, and you can actually make the unhealthy tree get healthier. Kind of cool, right? And the Russians in the 1950s, they actually used to give it to their premier athletes and the Olympic athletes, and they say that's one of the reasons they had such very powerful athletes that never seemed to get sick was partly because of that. So chaga, it's in our coffee, and now it's in the Sisel immune product. But the next one we want to talk about is called cat's claw, and don't confuse that with anything called cat's foot, right, or cat's tail, but it's called cat's claw. Annette's just laughing at me when I said that, shaking her head. I have a bad sense of humor, but it's the seventh most popular herb in the United States back in the 90s. It's used for arthritis, and I know like my mom and dad, they use it a lot when they have like arthritis type pains. That they'll rub it into the joints. They'll put it in like a that mentholated rub type of a thing, but it helps out with inflammation. On the joints, you rub it in on the outside and it soaks on the inside and works. But guess what? If you ingest it orally, it gets rid of inflammation of the digestive system. So think of all the diseases that we've already talked about that cause inflammation when you get the stomach flu, right? Colitis, gastritis, ulcers, hemorrhoids, leaky bowel syndrome, right? And they're all caused by inflammation. So if you can get rid of the inflammation of the gut, you can slow down the leaky gut syndrome. You can get rid of allergies. So here's something that helps out with that. But the other thing is that they found that it kind of cracks that shell of that bacterium. Again, what's a bacterium? Well, Lyme's disease is caused by a spirochete, which is a bacterium. So if it cracks that shell and allows the other parts to get in there and to kill that thing off, holy cow, I mean, we got something that's going to make a huge difference, and it's going to help with all these different things, again, with all sorts of viruses like shingles and AIDS and HIV and herpes. And they even found that it benefits people that have a certain kind of brain cancer called glioblastomas, right? And I don't know if you've ever known anybody that had that, but I have, and I've done some work with some of these people and had some pretty promising results. But so I like to find what does this work with? As I'm looking through the ingredient list, as I'm going through all this stuff that I'm telling you, I'm thinking of my friend over here that needs that, and my friend over there that needs it for that reason. I mean, everybody can probably benefit from this product. It stimulates the immune system. It kills cancer cells. It helps fight cancer cells. It fights viruses. And this isn't something that I'm just saying, and this isn't something that Sisel says. This is what the studies are saying on each of these ingredients. And I have to be real careful to say that plants stimulate and support your immune system, right? If you've kind of had that loss of body function from disease or whatever, the plants will retrain the body to function the way that it's supposed to, and it supports the recuperative function of the body, and it helps with the spleen, and it helps with the lymphatic system, right? And so just think of all that. That's what it does. So it's not fighting disease, it's not curing, it's not treating, things like that. And so that's what we have to really be careful on. But just think of all the other stuff that it can do, right? And so then we get to, I was talking to Marianne about the red root powder. I mean, it's an ingredient from a plant that's indigenous to the Americas, in the West, in the Northeast. The root has been used by indigenous people of the United States, of the Americas, for hundreds, maybe thousands of years. And the root is actually the most medicinal part of the plant. It helps out the respiratory system, right? And so if you hear somebody coughing, sneezing, wheezing, here's an ingredient that helps out with that. But it helps out with edema, anemia. It helps helps the body so it can build new blood, right? Red blood cells, and increases digestion, right? And I was just talking to a new distributor of ours coming in from down in Oklahoma, and he might be listening to the call. Robert might be listening to the call, but we're talking about digestive properties. So here's a product, red root extract, that helps out with that. It improves appetite for people who have poor appetite, and it helps with wounds. It helps out with colds, irritable bowel syndrome, sore throats, even leukemia and lymphoma, right? And a lot of the different areas that are affected by mucous membranes. I mean, the lungs, right? There's a lining in the lungs, mucous membranes, and in the digestive system, in your sinuses, right? In all those different cavities, mucous membranes. And what are mucous membranes? Well, what that is, that's kind of that slimy layer, right? The slimy layer inside your nose that makes your nose wet on the inside, right? And in that slime layer, that's in all your mucous membranes. And what that's there for is because it's a layer of protection. It lets the good stuff in, it lets the bad stuff out, and it's supposed to protect you from letting the bad stuff in. And so that's really what that does. And then we have the allicin, which comes from garlic. It's a known antibacterial. It's antifungal, so it's going to kill off funguses that get in your body. And you think, well, I don't have any funguses. And you want to make a bet. I mean, you take a look. If you could go down with a scope into your digestive system, what's that one movie where they take that little submarine and they go through your digestive system, and you can see what's inside there, and that's real. My friend up here in North Dakota, he has a factory where he actually makes those little tiny cameras, and they put them in a pill. You swallow it, and then this little tiny camera goes floating through your digestive system, and so you can see all that stuff. And it's hooked up to your computer, Bluetooth to your computer, and you can see all the stuff. This little tiny camera that goes in the pill. That's off subject, sorry. But so I kind of think about things as I'm talking, and then we get into the ashwagandha, and I never thought of ashwagandha in a immune type of product. I've always used it for an adaptogen. I've used it with people that have hormonal type of problems. But when you're using it with somebody for an immune problem, it decreases pain, it slows the aging process, and that's what we start talking about. That's what the next couple of weeks are all about, is how do we slow this aging process. But this helps with wound healing, and really think of it kind of like a seek and destroy type of ingredient that attacks free radicals. And so like a cruise missile, right? You aim it at the free radical and boom, it blows it up, right? And so it's going to decrease stress, and it's going to slow the degeneration of brain cells. In some of the studies that I've read, it'll decrease the degenerative process in the brain cells by somewhere up around 80%. I mean, holy cow. And then it helps with the adrenal glands when somebody's dealing with stress. And how many people do you know that just can't handle stress? And all of a sudden here we have a product called Sisel Immune that it's got 2 ingredients that are known to help the body deal with stress, to help the adrenal glands. One of them is chaga and now ashwagandha. And it's known to help out with Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and dementia. It fights bacteria. And it works a lot with chemotherapy. And this is something that I really talk to people about, is that when you're talking to people who might have immune challenges, they might have cancer and stage 4 situations and things like that, you don't want to fight them on going to their doctor. It's their choice, and that's what they want to do. And so what you want to do is you want to say, hey, we've got something here that actually is known to help benefit you while you're taking those while you're taking the anti-cancer drugs, the chemotherapy and things like that. And so that's what I'm constantly trying to tell people, is that, when you're talking about it, work with somebody's doctor, not against them. And so what the ashwagandha does is that it boosts the immunity when somebody's taking chemo. The interferon, the interleukin-2 are decreased with chemo, and what ashwagandha does is it normalizes those back out to a normal level. And so you can see that how beneficial is that. And in today's world, they're saying that more and more people are going to get cancer. I remember reading that right now it's like 1 out of every 2.5 people has cancer. It's that high. And they're saying by the year 2020, which is just 4 years from now, it's going to be 40-50% worse than it is right now. And so I just really try and describe to people that we're not winning the war, right? We're just accepting it. We're not winning the war, but what if we can do a few things and actually start kind of beating it back a little bit? And that's where I really think all of us stand here with Sisel as we move into kind of this new era of medicine, whether you want to call it the era of socialized medicine or Obamacare, whatever you want to call it. The thing about it is that we're making people more responsible for their health. We're saying, hey, bud, you got to be more responsible for what's going on inside your body, and And so here's something that you can talk to people about, and you say, hey, look at what this does. And you can improve their health, and really, as we talk about the subject of longevity, right? If I don't die of infection, guess what? I just improved the longevity of the human race, because now I'm not a lower statistic. I'm going to be an upper statistic, and so we can talk about that. And that's really some of the things that I really like talking about. And you can tell I have fun getting into subjects. I mean, even as boring as infections, right? I mean, you think about that. How boring is that? I remember taking microbiology in college, and I remember Dr. Reddy. I can remember her name from 30 years ago, standing up there, and she just had this monotone voice. Just, well, this is what we're going to talk about today. But now that we're dealing with it, we're helping people get healthier and live longer. It makes sense. It really makes sense, folks. So Helen, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about tonight.
Wow.
I went over by a little bit, so I apologize.
No, that's awesome. I mean, what a wealth of knowledge. And I knew that Sisel Immune was amazing, but having you go over, each thing that it can help with, I just, like dementia or cancer or the flu. I mean, I have people that I can, send this to, and it's just amazing. And on the flyer it says Sisel Immune, a revolutionary combination of immunity support like never seen before. And you said it's like mixing the old with the new. I mean, it's just awesome. So thank you so much for everything. It's just, what a great call. What an awesome job, Doc Biz. You're just awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I had fun with it. So, I mean, if we just share it with people. I mean, and what if this is the only product you ever get anybody to take?
Yeah.
I mean, what if it's the only one? It's going to change their life.
Absolutely. So, awesome product. Awesome call.
All right. Well, thanks for being on, Helen. Thanks, Rob, for recording it, and thanks everybody for listening. And let's get this out to everybody and share it with people. Have a good night.
Thank you, Doc.